Well, they did it once in 1933, and could they do it again? Well, Executive Order 6102 actually made it illegal to own gold and required everyone to turn them back in. And if the government were to confiscate them again, would they come for your stack? Well, let's discuss this topic in today's video. Want to win 100 ounces of American Silver Eagles completely free? Well, JM Bullion is giving away 5 full tubes of 100 coins packed in a custom waterproof Pelican case. There is no purchase necessary, and the giveaway ends September 11th of this year. And if you want to get in on this opportunity, click the link in the description below to enter for your chance to win. And just to be clear, JM Bullion is not sponsoring this channel in any sort of way. This is me just wanting to pass this opportunity along to help you guys out. So don't miss out on this. Click the link in the description and enter for your chance to win 100 ounces of free silver. Alright, so let's talk about what happened back in 1933, because I think we need to explain the situation and use it as a reference for what may or may not happen in today's world. And like I said before, Executive Order 6102 placed a ban on gold coins in excess of 5 ounces or $100 face value at the time. And basically, if you had more than 5 ounces, you were required to turn them back into the bank or the government for $20.67 each. And the purpose for that was to rebuild trust in the US dollar during the Great Depression and the banking crisis that it was experiencing at the time. So if we were to compare the equivalent value of 5 ounces being the benchmark, anything above that would have to be turned in, and that means we would receive a face value of probably around $50 per ounce instead of the $20.67, because that $50 is based off of the denomination that's shown on the gold coin currently. And failure to do so would have resulted in a $10,000 fine or 10 years of imprisonment, or both. And if you adjust for inflation into today's numbers, that $10,000 fine would actually result in almost $250,000. But thankfully, the prison time isn't inflation adjusted. So why would a confiscation happen again? Well, there's a few possibilities or situations that would cause the government to go back to that almost 100-year-old rule. Similar to the last situation, the Great Depression, a severe financial crisis could be another one. Due to the loss of a dollar reserve status, if the dollar loses its global reserve currency status, it can cause a massive capital flight, and the government might confiscate gold to stabilize the markets or create a new gold-backed currency. Essentially, any national emergency or financial crisis that puts a strain on the dollar dominance would open the opportunity of a reconfiscation attempt. And precious metals alone are seen as a competing source to the dollar, and if the US wants to maintain that dominance, naturally they're going to go after their competitor. We know that to be true because we stack these things against a falling or a failing dollar, and to be outside that system. And even with the potential of the CBDCs, or the central bank digital currency, as the latest possibility, this might become a battle between the digital versus physical. And even fiat currency, paper, or clad coins might be seen as unnecessary as it goes against the digital currency trend. And whether or not that happens, I don't really know, but it is just a speculation at this point. So if we know why they would confiscate, the next logical question would be, how would they do that? Well, back then they didn't physically go door to door and raid everybody's homes looking for them. And I don't think that would happen again either. I don't think they have the resources to go do that, as that would end up just being a big waste of time. I think the most likely method would come from something of a more audit-like type of method, seeing historical transactions from online bullion dealers and all that information coming from the banks, large withdrawals that could speculate certain purchases. I would guess that this becomes more of a psychological and a fear tactic type of move to get people to naturally give up their excess stash and then go after the rest. I mean, remember all the 87,000 IRS agents that were being hired? Perhaps they're going to be needed to do something in the future after all. And despite the confiscation, there were some exceptions to the rule that allowed people to not have to give up their gold. And one of the statements were gold coins having recognized special value to collectors of rare and unusual coins, which protected recognized gold coin collections from legal seizure. And essentially, collector pieces and jewelry were not required to be handed over. And if that were to be true today, I'm sure any of the pre-33 gold would be exempted, and anything made after the 1986 from the start of the gold eagles that we know today, including the Type 1 and Type 2, as well as the gold buffalo, would probably be targeted or qualified to be surrendered. And not to mention, a couple points that should be considered is the other forms of gold that we own. Does the Canadian maple or any other foreign gold coins become exempt as well? Since they aren't technically a part of the US system to begin with, would we as stackers be better off stacking outside the realm, if you will, to prevent any confiscation requirements? And since we have to assume every possible scenario, it should be reasonable to assume that if the US dollar falls and loses its reserve currency status and creates another crisis that results in the reconfiscation of gold, would they include silver as well to offset the massive devaluation? Since our dollar has lost over 90% of its value since 1933, gold might not be enough to restabilize things, and they may have to include silver to be confiscated as well. So all of the junk silver, generic rounds, American silver eagles, and so forth will have to be taken just to be melted to stabilize a falling fiat currency. I wonder what that limit might be for us in the future. Is that going to be 50 ounces, 100 ounces? If 5 ounces of gold was the standard, I just wonder what that would look like today for the minimum. And perhaps we might not even get a minimum and everything has to be surrendered. So, in my opinion, would they do it again? Well, maybe. Perhaps they might be a little more forceful this time, depending on how severe the situation is. I personally think, depending also on the state that you live in, they might be more or less favorable in preventing any form of seizure of precious metals. Don't forget how extreme some leaders or some states were during the pandemic, and I think we all got a quick snapshot of where certain priorities would land in a fearful situation. There's already states pushing legislation to make gold and silver legal tender in their states, so those states might be better served to protect them against any form of confiscation. But similar to how everyone sent their gold to Europe back in 1933, those favorable states, while they're still part of the US, could possibly be a safe haven, but it might not work that way as federal law is superior. But we are already seeing states challenge authority constantly over the last 10 years. And overall, it's going to be impossible to guess as to what will really happen, and worrying about that too much isn't going to be beneficial. You just got to keep stacking and just getting out of the system. That's the best bet, in my opinion. And if that time does come, we'll just have to adjust accordingly. And I think after stacking, we should all be investing in some sort of aquatic recovery business, since a lot of boating accidents will probably be happening in the future. But all jokes aside, just keep stacking into your goals. I don't want to put fear into people on this video, but we do need to consider all possibilities now and then. With that being said, guys, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.